to explain what they're doing though.
So wheel comes out.
Taking the wheel off.
You got this handy pack here.
I'm gonna really be in bad shape.
You're gonna grab your tire iron and the tube. This little thing slips off. And I'm going to tell you more about what's going on here once you're done.
So it goes around underneath. Tire irons pulled out the tube.
Tube comes out. You got your new tube.
Oh, you inflate it before you put it in?
The air in his new tube. You notice he put a little bit of air in his new tube before he puts it into his
a little bit of air,
tire.
and I close the valve, because if you don't close the valve, you lose all the air. Okay? There was no hole to that.
Okay. Oh. So you just leave the whole tire on this rim. Yeah. Come on, Ken!
You want in there? They tubes in there. I'm losing a little time, and the people are passing me, but I'm not going to get nervous about that.
Pretty calm, man. I'd be like, what? I was good one.
I'm going to take my own space now.
No, you'd be crying. No, I would.
Not in a marathon.
I don't care.
Then you're disqualified.
I don't care if they disqualify. I just want to get over the finish line.
No, they take your chip away.
Do they really?
You don't get any time.
One thing I would
Any marathon, any triathlon.
once you have the other tire out, if you think it's a puncture of some sort, throw a little bit of air in there.
It is a sanctioned race? I don't know that. I thought
blow
you
up
told
the
her what she
whole
looked
We're
like.
at 148, Ken.
Find out where the hole is, then you can track it back into the tire gear. Otherwise, you got to go and search for it by hand or by eye. So you run your finger through here, see if there's a piece of glass or a thorn or something like that. If it's not, it's just a piece
I did get one like you had, though, that it goes to the bike.
We're at 216.
Chris can find this, and he's going to have another plan about 3 hours.
And Kristen at 220.
Wait, I'm not done.
Oh, he's not done.
I don't get to just ride away.
That's not bad.
My car.
He's got that little thing left.
So, how much time was that? 2 minutes and 40 seconds. So if you think your event is over because of a flat, you're wrong. It's not that bad, but okay, I'll show you some of the common mistakes now. We'll do it again when I do it for time. So you got the flat. There's a few different types of flats you can get. And you'll usually know by how quickly it went flat. If you lose all the air at once, you've hit something that's punctured the tire and it's gone flat. If it's gone flat slowly, it's most likely what we call a pinch flat. And a pinch flat is that when the tire pinches the tube in the rim, and it's like they call it a snake bite because it gets stuck in there, and it eventually wears a hole in the tube. So this is step one. So we're taking the tire iron, and you put it between the tire and the rim, pull it over. That starts the motion of releasing the tire off the rim. And if you push it away from you, you don't need a bunch of tire irons. That just makes the process harder. So you can just push it away from you, and the tire will want to come off on its own. You don't have to take the tire all the way off. You just have to take one side off. Now, the key to knowing what happened, you want to, this is like your private investigator mode, like what happened. So, okay, private investigator mode. If you can remember, keep the tube in the same position that you just took it out of the wheel from, and that takes a lot of the guesswork out. So if I took the tube out right where it came from, and I put a little air in it, keep it in that same position. I put a little air in it, and you'll start hearing the sound of it hissing, right? Like, there it is, okay? Then I know it's right here. I don't have to look very hard. I just go back to that position on the tire. Wow, there's a piece of glass, okay? If you can't find anything, best thing to do is just run your fingers on the inside of the tire, and you'll feel it.
And cut yourself like that?
No, it's not. Usually, a lot of times it will have fallen off, or it'll just be a little thorn or something. You'll just feel it. And then, so now you go to putting the next tube in, and this is a disaster if you're trying to put this tube in without any air in it, because it doesn't take any shape, right? You can't get it to go in, it's just a disaster. So yeah, that's bad news.
You don't get to
So what happened?
So I didn't get this. Before I started filling it up with air, it was seated pretty well. But now the tube is sort of bubbled out and pushed the lip of the tire over the side. Trying to ride like that, your brakes are eventually going to rub against there, and it thinks it's going to explode. It's going to make a very loud sound.
So I put a little air in the.
Can we demonstrate that?
The next thing I do is I close off the valve. If you don't close off the valve as you're trying to put it in, it'll let out all the air, and you're starting over again. And then you're looking for guys again to show up and help you out. So there, put it over the valve. Just kind of start to roll the tube into the tire. It wants to go in there. That's where it's supposed to be. And go to your home, little tube. Okay. Now it's in. And start to work your way. Starting with the valve, I start to work the tire onto the rim. Now this often looks like way more work than it actually is. And there's a couple of tips. You do have certain tires and rim combinations that don't work very well together, so it's a little harder. So what happens first is I've just gotten the tube on there. So I know the tube's tucked away now, so I'm not going to pinch it, similar to what happened over here. So now the tube's in and I can start to just work my way around. So if I start from this side and I'm working my way around, I'm freeing up some of that tension over here to get the tire on. And a nice tire wheel combination will actually go right on. If that's a little harder, you can use your valve or your lever and get the tire back on. So now that the tire's on, I actually want to check really quick and make sure that tube is not pinched. So I'm just looking right now to see, can I see a tube between the rim and the tire? If I see the tube in there, that's bad news, it's going to pinch. Okay? So I have to flip it through. So if you're not paying attention right now, you better hope we're around when you get your first flat. And normally what I would do, we want to get you in the pool, but normally what I would do is have you do it next. So instead what we're going to do at some practice this season, when we're a long way from home, there's going to be a surprise stop.
Packs on the street?
Yep, there's going to be something where you have to stop and fix it. So you have to have stuff with you. Right, Christine?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions on, for those that are more advanced, I don't recommend this. If you are in a completely desperate situation where you're in the countryside and there's pit bulls that are going to chase you and you got to get out of there and you find yourself without a spare tube, you can take the tube if you know the hole is right here. And I say the effective of this is probably about 20%. So it's a high risk. But if you're really stranded, you can find the hole and you can tie a knot over the hole. This is a secret weapon trick. Not a lot of people know about this trick. You can tie a knot over the hole, get it to hold, get that knot to hold, put it back in the wheel. It will go back in the wheel this way. You'll have a little bit of a bump when you ride, but that knot will hold the hole, which is way faster than walking. You can't put a ton of air back in there, but it's a desperate sort of last attempt. Any questions on flaps?
Actually, one other thing is sort of a similar MacGyver type of thing, which has actually happened to me out at Wildflower, where my tire actually slides. So if you stick another tube in there and you fill it up, it's going to pinch all the way through. So what I did is I downed, either take a $1 bill, fold it up and tuck it inside of there, thanks. What I used was a gel wrapper. So I just pulled one of my gels out of my bento box, suck that down, and then fold it in half, and then tuck it inside there, and put the tube in, and I was fine. I finished the rest of the day.
Yeah, Ken's referring, if you have a tire that's torn, and the tube will just pop right back out of it. Fold up the $1 bill, and it works like the new layer on the inside, and it won't pop out. So, all the secret tricks. Okay, next we want a couple of volunteers And from the
There's a question about
Yes,
what a tire patch
sorry,
is. There's a question about
patches?
a tire patch.
Yeah, how do you do?
Yeah.
patches. Oh, fun. I would pay the $4 or $5 and have the extra tube and a patch as a back. If you get 2 flats in a ride, you've got bad luck on that particular ride, and maybe there's a bad tire wheel combination. But the patches are used as your backup, so don't use patches as your primary resource for flats. But there are some patches out there that are glueless. I recommend the glueless type, and you just put them on like a Band-Aid and air them up. The ones with the glue and the sandpaper and all that stuff, it's like, it's not a home improvement project, it's a flat. So next, switch off. Want a couple of volunteers that might be willing to have the coaches look at your swim stroke, but you're going to be the example for the group as we audit a couple of swim strokes in the pool. It's a great opportunity to get a lot of attention on your swim stroke, more than you'd ever want.